And now, your Fox 44 forecast first.
Good evening, I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike LaPointe. Skies still mostly clear here across our area. I expect those clouds to thicken up here over the next several hours. Currently sitting at 44 degrees here in Waco. Your forecast first, partly cloudy at midnight, 46. Turning mostly cloudy in the morning with some patchy fog possible, 49. And we're going to keep that fog in the forecast at 9 with a lot of clouds around and 54 degrees. A very mild day tomorrow, but a cold front on the way will bring chilly conditions over the weekend. I'll give you the details on that coming up in just a few minutes. Fox 44 News starts right now.
Coming up right now, family reacting after police positively identified the bodies of Jenna Scott and Michael Swearingen.
And it's still the honeymoon period for the 86th legislature. We'll tell you what local leaders are looking forward to as the session continues.
Also, where Central Texas drivers rank among the state's safest.
Live from Waco, Temple, and Killeen, your news now. This is Fox 44 News at 9.
Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight on Fox 44 News. I'm Leslie Rangel.
And I'm Robert Burns. Tonight, it has been confirmed. Investigators finding the bodies of Jenna Scott and Michael Swearingen in Clearview, Oklahoma this week.
Now, this announcement comes with word that Scott's former boyfriend, Cedric Marks, will soon be back here in Bell County to face burglary charges. Fox 44's Anna Thrash has the latest in the investigation.
Detectives say Maya Maxwell confessed that she drove Swearingen's car to Austin, where it was found abandoned on January 5th. The arrest affidavit said she knew the car was stolen from Michael on January 3rd, and she had hoped to conceal the car from law enforcement. The current wife of Cedric Marks, 37-year-old Janelle McDonough, is also in a Michigan jail charged with harboring a fugitive. She is accused of letting Marks and Maxwell stay in her home in Michigan from January 5th to the 9th. Police arrested Marks January 8th, and both women were arrested 3 days later. While Temple police are not saying Marks is a person of interest in the death of Jenna Scott and Michael Swearingen, investigators in Minnesota are looking at him for a missing persons case from 2009. April Peace, who was 30 years old when she vanished, was involved in a lengthy custody battle with Marks over their then 2-year-old son. That custody case started in September of 2008, and she disappeared in March of 2009.
All right, last night, Michael Swearingen's mother spoke out to Fox 44 about learning about his body being identified. Tonight, Jenna Scott's family voicing their concerns about the investigation.
Fox 44's Renee Summerhour spoke with family tonight. Renee?
Yeah, Robert, Leslie, talking to Jonathan Scott, her father, and Jenna's brother, Talon Scott. They say these last few days and past few weeks and months has just been extremely hard for the family, but they say the community's love and support has pulled them through.
Very emotional, very sad, and but at least we're going to get closure.
The news this morning, positively identifying Jenna Scott and Michael Swearingen's bodies in Oklahoma, has been a heartbreaking reality for the Scott family.
We know that Jenna's in a better place now, and we're just struggling with coming to grips with it still. I mean, it hasn't even hardly sunk in. I mean, it feels like I weigh 1,000 pounds.
Her father says they did everything they could to protect her.
This individual basically stalked her and harassed all of us, terrified her. She lived in a state of terror, and the system failed her.
Jenna's brother says the community's support has helped them in their grieving process.
Thank you very much for the outpouring of love and support that we have received throughout this ordeal.
Neighbors in the area also expressing their thoughts about today's findings.
These people were so nice and so sweet and involved with so many people that it's a horrible thing that's happened.
We're sending out our prayers to the family.
Mr. Scott says now they will come together as a family to honor Jenna's legacy.
She loved life. She loved life, and she loved her friends and family. She loved her daughter dearly, and she would want us to do something to honor her, and we're going to.
Just heartbreaking there. Now, no word yet on if any funeral arrangements have been put in place at this time. Coming up tonight at 9:30, why Jonathan Scott says that law enforcement nationwide need to do more to protect domestic violence victims. Live in the newsroom, Renee Summerhour, Fox 44 News.
A 35-year-old Bryan man will spend the next 45 years in prison after repeated incidents of family violence. A judge sentenced Tremaine Carter Wednesday. The Brazos County District Attorney's Office says between February and May of 2016, police responded multiple times to domestic violence incidents. Police also found several other similar cases in 2005 and 2010. The district attorney says Carter's conviction is a result of his criminal history, including 8 felony convictions and 11 misdemeanors.
7 people are out of their homes tonight after a fire at a Temple apartment building. Now, this happened early this morning at the Courtyard Apartments on South 1st Street. Firefighters say the blaze started in a bathroom because of a broken exhaust fan. They credit, though, the building's sprinkler system to limit the amount of fire damage in the end. The apartment complex is providing housing for those that were displaced. Fortunately, no one was injured.
2 people are in jail and another is in the hospital after a Harker Heights robbery attempt. 19 and 18-year-old suspects were arrested after an investigation began 10 days ago. Police were called to a home on West Valley Road. They say 3 people broke into the home. The homeowner shot one of the suspects. 2 others ran away. The victim is not facing any charges.
Lampasas deputies say a 13-year-old boy is at a juvenile facility after allegedly sending threatening messages about taking weapons to school. Monday night, investigators were tipped about a classmate who sent the messages along with pictures. The child is being charged with a misdemeanor.
Well, today we're learning a man out on bond for a sexual assault charge is the same man who was arrested this week for sexual assault of a minor. 42-year-old David Lovelace was previously arrested in Waco in connection to a sexual assault of a mentally handicapped woman he'd met online. Waco police say in September 2016, he went into the woman's apartment and attacked her while she was in a wheelchair. He choked her and took her phone. He was arrested and charged with aggravated sexual assault and injury to a disabled person.
A new study ranks Waco as top 10 for the safest drivers in the state. Waco ranking number 7 on the list. That research done by Quote Wizard cites just over 3,500 total crashes in the city during 2017. Analysts did look for the lowest rate of accidents, tickets, and DUIs. Eagle Pass and Marshall, Texas came in as the top 2 on that list.
According to a new report, Waco ISD has reduced the amount of schools that failed to meet the state standards. It went from 6 to now 1. The Texas Academic Performance Report measures the success of Texas school districts. In 2018, Waco ISD saw several schools needing improvement or facing closure. At a public trustee meeting tonight, the district says even though they've made improvements, there's still work to be done.
One of the things that we want our parents to know is that even though the schools that we had that formerly struggled and are no longer improvement required, they're not getting any less service or less attention from us now than they did when they were.
Now, of the schools that improved, Brook Avenue Elementary is the only school in the district that needs improvement. Well, today, members of the McLennan County Republican Party met to hear from state legislatures about the key issues during the 86th legislative session. Fox 44's Shaquille Omari was at the Texas Rangers Hall of Fame to find out what lawmakers had to say.
Today, State Representatives Kyle Kasel and Doc Anderson addressed nearly 100 people on some of the most important topics of the session. Those include health care and internet to people in rural areas. But 2 points stands out from the rest. Property taxes and teacher salaries are 2 of the hot-button issues during the session.
School finance in Texas is very convoluted, very difficult, and it's not an excuse, it's just reality.
The topic comes just days after Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick announced a proposal to give Texas teachers a $5,000 raise.
Next year and continuing into the next year and continuing into perpetuity.
To do this, State Representative Kyle Kasel says they need the state's help in increasing funding for teachers, adding this will have a huge effect on property taxes through relief and reform.
Funding from the state is going to give immediate relief to the taxpayer. Reform is going to come in legislation where we can find a way to maintain the proper balance between state and local funding.
We would like to see a situation where teachers can get more money, more responsibility, more respect within the classroom.
The 2 lawmakers say they have a lot of work to do, but they remain optimistic.
We will get some good work done to ensure that Texas continues its success worldwide.
According to the National Education Association, teachers across the U.S. made $39,000 in 2017. Here in Texas, they made $2,000 more. Fox 44, Shaquille Omari.
Houston police are investigating how a 9-year-old boy got his hands on a gun before shooting and killing his cousin. Investigators say that the two boys were playing with a gun at a home Wednesday before that gun accidentally fired. The other boy, who was the same age, was later found by police and died at the hospital.
One of them obtained a handgun. There was a shot fired and the 9-year-old was struck. Our homicide investigators are on scene right now conducting a follow-up investigation. Once they complete that, they'll have more information. Also, they'll contact the district attorney.
Now, the district attorney's office will decide whether anyone should face charges. Police are still trying to find out who owned that gun.
All right, well, police in North Texas looking for a Girl Scout cookie thief. We'll tell you what the community did to help save the day.
And we're talking with Central Texas lawmakers about the government shutdown. Whose side are they on? Coming up.
And opioid abuse is an epidemic. We're telling you how Texas lawmakers are planning to help curb the issue.
You're watching Fox 44 News at 9 with Leslie Rangel, Robert Burns, AMS certified chief meteorologist Mike LaPointe, and sports with Matt Roberts. The Fox 44 weather forecast with chief meteorologist Mike LaPointe.
A real nice day today with temperatures climbing into the low 60s. A lot of sunshine out there, and skies still at this hour are mostly clear across the region. Here's the almanac information for today. We topped out at 63, which is above average. The average high is 58 degrees. Kind of a warm start at 47. We had those clouds to deal with for just a little bit, and again, no rainfall to speak of across the area. Tomorrow morning, though, the clouds move right back in, and some patchy fog can't be ruled out with temperatures as we start the day right around 49 degrees, and then partly to mostly cloudy. It'll be warmer at noon, 64, and we will top out at 69 degrees, or at least be very close to 69 degrees. Cold front on the way, though, and that will definitely drop temperatures and give us a chance of showers and thunderstorms tomorrow night. Don't think they'll linger into the weekend, but I'll have that forecast for you coming up in a few minutes. Back to you.
All right, along with health issues, Texas lawmakers will consider this session. There's obviously there are additional ways to crack down on opioid misuse.
That's right. For example, right now, Texas is one of 8 states where data from the prescription monitoring program is not available to a minor patient's parent or legal guardian. Fox 44's Steffi Lee explores some proposals legislatures have to help improve that program.
Some people feel like they're alone through this.
But here at University High School, student Michael Perez has a community. This school inspires hope in students in recovery.
Anything really that I could do, I would do it.
He saw a doctor's prescription send his brother down the same path.
Not only did it make his pain go away, it made everything in his feelings go away.
Experts say youth are exposed to pain medication in a number of ways.
If an adolescent is injured, for example, and is given a certain amount of pain medication, prescriptions, they may develop that opioid addiction.
Bringing in parents immediately and having them be a part of the process when a young person is prescribed medication decreases the chances for that.
Texas legislators will consider adding that parental notification mandate to the prescription drug monitoring program this session.
We think that was just an oversight in the original bill.
Physician and Senator Don Buckingham also expects new legislation to focus on improving the workflow.
Right now, a provider has to stop everything, log onto the program, check everything. What we're really trying to do is get what's called push notifications to come up.
She says collaboration between different health experts and those impacted by opioids will be key.
You're never alone, and that's something that people really have to keep in mind.
From the Allen Samuels of Hearn Sports Center, it's Fox 44 First Sports with Matt Roberts.
Hey there, and good evening to you. Well, the Baylor softball team held their first full team workouts of the spring earlier this afternoon at Getterman Stadium, but this is not the same old Getterman. The ballpark has undergone several upgrades, most notably an artificial playing surface and new LED lights that were lit up at a ceremony this evening. Coach Glenn Moore happy to have the renovations to maximize the opportunities for his players.
You know, originally I wasn't a big fan of the artificial surface traditionalist, but I'm really impressed with what they did. It's high quality material. The main thing is we were losing too many practices and some games too, but mainly too many practices on the old surface, and this is going to allow us to play if it's not raining, and I think we'll benefit from that.
We're for sure excited to see the lights when they go on. The turf has been so exciting. We got to see the other day how balls play off of it, so we're just looking forward to playing in our home stadium. Feels brand new.
We'll have more from the softball team later on in Fox 44 Sports. Until then, Robert, Leslie, back to you.
All right, coming up, check out a high-speed chase that happened in Dallas. How long these suspects try to drive off with a windshield covered.
And French authorities investigating an explosion, what they say happened.
Covering McGregor, San Saba, and Bryant. This is Fox 44 News at 9.
All right, Robert, the question here is what kind of a person would steal Girl Scout cookies from a little girl? And to make matters worse, they stole them from a little girl in Dallas who was going door to door selling them. She was only 8 years old.
In the process, too. The story does have a happy ending, though. Allie Spilliards explains what neighbors did to fix it all.
We have s'mores, we have Thin Mints.
This may be 8-year-old Sunny's first cookie booth sale.
That would be $8.
But she already looks just like a seasoned pro.
And I get to make people happy.
Though if the Smith family's honest, their little brownie's first year of cookie sales got off to a pretty rocky start.
On Saturday, my daddy took us out to sell cookies.
They left the wagon at the curb and they went up to the door and they were talking to a neighbor, taking her order.
That's when Sunny's mom, Amy, says they heard a clatter, turning around to see a white Dodge Charger taking off with all 5 cases of cookies.
I cried. I did. I cried because it was sad that happened. My kids were violated and it just hurts to know that happens.
But Sunny decided to channel her emotions.
I feel mad and sad.
Or rather squeeze them into something that could help, literally turning lemons into lemonade. All for donations to cover their $250 loss.
To steal from little girls like that, that's awful.
Which is why word about the crime spread, bringing in neighbor.
Good will come out of it.
After neighbor.
I think she's going to learn at a young age that that people, show love and they show, kindness.
Buying boxes and filling a collection bucket so Sunny's family wouldn't have to bear the burden of the loss.
What a good lesson for my kids to learn that community is stronger than any bad guy could ever be.
One of the many she hopes Sunny will learn. One cookie sale at a time. In Dallas, Allie Spilliards, NBC5.
All right, the family says they did collect more than enough money to cover the cost of all the stolen cookies, and they're using the extra cash to buy more cookies and send them to troops overseas. All right, meanwhile, in other news, a pair of armed men led police on a high-speed pursuit in Dallas. Check out the video. Police say the 2 men were on the run after robbing a bank in Hearst, but the chase led them all the way to Dallas. The getaway car blowing through intersections and turning corners, but look at the front of that car. The hood is covering the windshield. Eventually, the pair had to ditch the car and make a run for it on foot. Police, though, did catch up with them shortly afterward. It is day 27 now in the government shutdown. No relief in sight as of this point. President Trump still wants nearly $6 billion for a border wall. Democrats still say no.
Republican State Representative Charles Doc Anderson and Kyle Cagle hope the government shutdown gets resolved soon. Fox 44's Michelle Trotter spoke with them.
It's a very serious situation. We have to get control of our borders, particularly here in Texas.
Republican State Representative Charles Doc Anderson stands with President Trump when it comes to a crisis on the border.
See all the numbers for Texas, and a lot of that has to do with immigration, legal and illegal. The president was elected, a duly elected president, and so he's got a right to try and do what he thinks it needs to be done. The majority of the folks in this nation support, and so they need to come together. They're just saying, no, we're not going to deal at all is not the way to go.
This is the first time in 19 government shutdowns that federal workers haven't received a paycheck.
You know, you sure feel for the folks that aren't getting their paychecks. They will eventually, but it still is inconvenience to them, and so we're concerned about that.
I feel for all the people that are not getting their paycheck right now, but I understand where the president's headed.
Republican State Representative Kyle Cassell says they need to find a solution.
We got to protect our citizens, but I wish that the federal government could act more like the Texas legislature, where we get along and we work out our differences. So in Texas, we've started a wall. We have a wall for the most part. There's a stretch between McAllen and Lake Amistad that I think is part of the focus. I mean, for the amount of money that the past Congress voted on, this is a small amount. This is just a political game. Let's get that finished. Let's protect citizens. Let's slow down the immigration on the security side and protect our citizens.
Michelle Trotter, Fox 44 News.
All right, sticking in D.C., the war of words between President Trump and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, that is heating up.
Yes, both are blaming each other for the 27-day long partial government shutdown. Fox 44's Mark Meredith in Washington with more.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi blasted President Trump for ignoring the needs of 800,000 federal employees.
Not only are these workers not paid, they're not appreciated by this administration.
In a speech at the Pentagon, President Trump blamed the speaker for the shutdown stalemate.
While many Democrats in the House and Senate would like to make a deal, Speaker Pelosi will not let them negotiate.
The president also sent this letter to Pelosi, refusing to allow an Air Force jet to fly her on an official trip overseas just hours before its scheduled departure. The decision comes the day after the speaker wrote to the president asking him to postpone his State of the Union address. Florida Senator Rick Scott says he's hopeful both sides will eventually compromise.
Almost everybody wants to secure the border. Almost everybody wants to open up government. Why can't it happen?
A handful of new House Democrats have asked the Treasury Department to offer interest-free loans up to $6,000 to furloughed and unpaid government employees.
This would provide immediate financial relief to our workers so they can pay their bills right now.
Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown says federal contractors also need help.
The low-paid contractor, food service, custodial, security, are probably hurt the hardest.
Because, unlike government employees, they are not likely to receive back pay once the shutdown ends. In Washington, I'm Mark Meredith.
A not guilty verdict for 3 Chicago officers accused of trying to cover up details of a 2014 shooting of teenager Laquan McDonald. Former officer Joseph Walsh, former detective David March, and current officer Thomas Gaffney were being tried on charges of obstruction of justice, official misconduct, and conspiracy. Prosecutors claim they lied about details in the events leading up to McDonald's fatal shooting. Now, Officer Jason Van Dyke was convicted of McDonald's murder in October.
A large group of migrants were allegedly smuggled into the U.S. Border Patrol agents in New Mexico say there were 247 of them who turned themselves in last night. Border Patrol agents say most people in the group are from Central America. Families with young kids as well as unaccompanied teenagers were also in that group. Now, this is the same spot of the border where a 7-year-old girl from Guatemala died while in Border Patrol custody.
The Trump administration says they don't know how many children have been separated from their families at the southern border. It's according to a new report from the Department of Health and Human Services. It says more children have been separated from loved ones than the 2,700 previously reported, but officials don't know the exact number. The report added the department has run into significant challenges when it comes to identifying children who were separated. That's why they don't know exactly how many children are involved.
Switching over to Alabama, 2 people are dead after an IHOP customer opened fire last night. Huntsville police say a man went outside after arguing with an employee about his food order, later returning and shooting inside that restaurant. The gunman and 1 employee did die. Another employee being treated for non-life-threatening injuries at a hospital. Authorities say it's unclear, though, at this time who shot back at the gunman.
3 people are hurt in a blast at the University of Lyon in France. The blast and subsequent ball of fire hit a science building that was undergoing repairs at the school. The area was evacuated after the explosion Thursday morning. The regional fire service says the blaze was under control soon after, but there were injuries to 3 people. They are considered minor. Still, no word on the cause.
Time now to recap the top stories making headlines in Central Texas. Jenna Scott, now positively identified as one of the victims in that Temple missing persons case. Her family tonight reacting to the news. Her father saying the system failed her.
Fox 44's Renee Summerhour joining us live now in the newsroom. Now, Renee, Jenna's father says more should be done for domestic violence victims.
Yeah, that's right, Robert and Leslie. Again, after speaking with Mr. Scott, he tells us that him and his daughter and the entire family did everything that they could to protect her. They said that although they did that, they were still constantly harassed, and he feels that the system didn't do enough and doesn't do enough to protect women from violent predators. Now, again, we did report earlier that a temporary protection order was in place against Cedric Marks, who again is not a person of interest or a suspect in Jenna or Michael's disappearance, which was violated 3 different times according to Temple Police. He says with every precaution they took, it was still not enough, and that police nationwide need to do better to protect victims like Jenna.
You know, it's the criminal justice system. What we need is a victims justice system, because there's just the victims are the ones that deserve the support. She did everything right, and I helped her, and there was just no protection for her, really.
Now, again, the family all gathering today. I also saw Michael Swearingen's girlfriend entering the Scott family home, so they're all just coming together to support each other. They said at this time they're going to wait for any new developments they get from Temple PD, and they hope that they can soon make an arrest in their disappearance. Live in the newsroom, Renee Summerhour, Fox 44 News.
The Fox 44 weather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Mike LaPointe.
All right, Mike, it sounds like we have less than 24 hours to really enjoy this warm weather, but still a good thing for Friday.
Yeah, it's not bad. We've got a strong front on the way. Timing-wise, probably about this time tomorrow night, we'll see it start to move through here, and then those 70s that we're expecting tomorrow will be 40s on Saturday.
You've been telling us all week to enjoy it while we
enjoy
can.
it. That's right. Make sure you know where your coat is. You'll need it this weekend. It's going to be very windy, by the way, too, on Saturday. So we'll just make it a little bit worse out there. 40s.
I've already got the heater ready to go.
I've got my pizza pan ready.
There you go. We're coming over. All right, let's take a look at the clouds right now. We are watching the clouds beginning to thicken just to our south. Right now, skies are partly to mostly clear here in central Texas, but the thicker clouds are a little bit farther to the south. Those will be moving in our direction here overnight, and I do expect skies to become mostly cloudy here across the region. But temperatures actually went down a few degrees last hour. Now we're coming back up just a little bit. We're at 45 degrees here in Waco, 53 Colleen, 51 right now in Temple. Mahia checks in right at 49 degrees. So I expect, again, the clear skies to start to see a few more clouds dash through, and we are looking at mostly cloudy skies by early tomorrow morning. And again, with some of that moisture in the low levels and some light winds in some of those isolated valleys here, or at least the low-lying areas, we could see some patchy areas of fog to start. If you don't see the fog, you'll see mostly cloudy skies, but a very mild day setting up. You saw the 70s. I think we'll make 70, 71 degrees for the high temperature tomorrow. There will be a 20% chance of an afternoon shower or isolated storm, but you'll notice most of us will miss out on that. So I wouldn't cancel any plans, and especially if you're working outside tomorrow afternoon or early evening. We're still looking cloudy, but we are looking dry. Our chances, though, will go up to about 40% as we go throughout the evening, and that's because of the front that moves right across the area. It's going to keep on trucking, and behind the front, our winds turn to the northwest. Now, it's going to be a very, very windy day on Saturday, and as you can see here, temperatures not doing much. Low to mid 40s. That's it. You factor in any wind. Our wind chills as we go throughout the day on Saturday will be mainly in the 30s. By Saturday, late day, you'll notice temperatures starting to fall into the 30s. As for the chance for severe weather, really not going to happen, or at least our chances are extremely low here. Just a general thunderstorm possible as the cold front moves through. The little marginal risk area has kind of slid a bit farther off to the east and to the north, up toward Texarkana, back through Tyler, and down toward Lufkin. Again, an isolated strong storm possible, maybe a severe storm with some of that wind. But generally speaking, this is going to be a fast-moving front here, and we're not going to have time to set up a shop, basically, for any strong to severe weather. As for tonight, though, increasing clouds, could see some patchy fog develop very late. 44 degrees will be the low temperature, and again, some fog possible in the morning. Otherwise, it'll be a mostly cloudy day. It's going to be a warm day, not looking bad though. 71 degrees the high, and there's that slight chance of an isolated shower or storm late. Our best chance though will be Friday night with that 40% chance. The front moves through, and again, 48 degrees the high on Saturday. Very windy conditions. 51 on Sunday, 63 on Saturday, but look at those low temperatures. A little bit better than what we were showing you earlier this week, just because I think the core, the cold air staying to our north. Still nothing to write home about though, and we are looking at temperatures gradually warming back up into the 50s there for the rest of the week, down toward the Brazos Valley. Kind of the same story tomorrow night when the front moves through, then some windy conditions and cold weather over the weekend.
We really shouldn't complain though, because the Northeast, they're about to get hammered by some
1 to 2 feet of snow. Boston over toward Philly, back toward Pittsburgh.
I have a friend in Boston who texted me. She said, please send me all the warm wishes. So all the warm wishes for Allie.
They can have the warm wishes.
Good luck up
want
there.
The warm temperatures,
Yes,
though. I'm a little
exactly.
greedy on that one. Meanwhile, if it's cold outside, you might as well stay inside, because Salary.com is asking about stay-at-home parents, how much that could actually get them paid if that were a real
six
job.
figures there.
At least it's a nonstop profession. The website released the 2018 estimates worth of a parent's work, and the answer is about $162,000. You were right, Leslie, 6 figures at least. That compares the work of stay-at-home parents to similar jobs such as an event planner, a nurse, an accountant, and a teacher. Now, over the past few years, the results show a steady increase in salary for caregivers, as well as the amount of work, though, with most parents working, they say, 96 hours a week. Stay-at-home parents will happily disagree with that.
That's a rough life.
That's a lot of hours.
All right, well, coming up on Fox 44, an Arizona teenager facing terrorist charges, what investigators are accusing him of doing.
And after retiring, former Baylor Bear and Texas Ranger Sean Tollison opens up about his decision to leave pro baseball. That's a little bit later on in Fox 44 Sports.
And Facebook doing its part to get rid of fake news. What pages they had to take down today.
An Arizona teen is facing terrorism charges. Prosecutors say the 18-year-old was assisting ISIS, and the question now is, was he on the FBI's radar? Zach Crenshaw reports.
740, he just started throwing rocks at me. I got one at gunpoint in the parking lot. 740, he's got a knife coming at me. 740, 998, 999.
998 999. The code for an officer firing shots. The MCSO deputy had no idea that when he walked outside his station to check on Ishmael Hamed, the teen would allegedly pull a knife on him. New Maricopa County court documents call it an act of terrorism. Prosecutors allege 18-year-old Hamed did provide advice, assistance, direction, or management to the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, better known as ISIS.
The federal version of that is called material support, which means you've aided terrorists some way, through money, through recruiting.
Brad Garrett worked for the FBI for 21 years. When he learned of the knife attack on January 7th,
relatively a poor attempt.
But Garrett says it fits with the ISIS playbook.
ISIS in particular encourages people to launch their own attacks against the police or anybody else.
The attack, though, comes as a shock to people who knew Ishmael Hamed as a former classmate and coworker.
I trained him at Target, and he didn't really show any signs of aggression or anything. That was like he was super quiet.
Very gentle, very kind, and seemed like a very sweet, nice person.
The FBI isn't saying what evidence they have, but this investigation is far from over.
They're going to look for links. Are there links to other people, whether they're recruiters or other ISIS fighters?
Thursday, Facebook took down hundreds of anti-NATO pages linked to Russian state-owned news agency Sputnik. Facebook said the pages posed as independent news but were actually run by Sputnik employees. The social media giant said the 364 pages and accounts removed today had nearly 800,000 followers. Thursday's takedown is Facebook's most recent action against Russian disinformation. Facebook is planning to bring in new rules for campaigns buying ads around this year's elections in India and the European Union.
Tonight in your Consumer Report, recall notices are going out to owners of nearly 170,000 Hyundai and Kia vehicles. Now, the company will fill a fuel pipe problem that can cause an engine fire. The recall follows improper repairs during previous recalls for engine failures, and the recalls affect Sonata, Santa Fe, and Sportage vehicles that were all made between 2011 and 2018. All right, it is not where, but who in the world is Carmen Sandiego? A reboot of the animated series will reveal the mystery. The first 2 episodes of the show detail the origin story that led to Carmen Sandiego becoming a super thief, the one that she is known as today. Gina Rodriguez voices the lead role in the series, which Netflix says pays tribute to everything fans loved about the original. Carmen Sandiego starts tomorrow on Netflix. I'm excited about this.
I am too. And you know, we ran the story yesterday about Netflix increasing their prices by $2, but I'm okay with it. I mean, keep churning out these awesome shows and I'll pay a little more.
No more than $2 at this point.
No.
Unless they make an Oregon Trail.
Exactly.
Then I'm all about it.
All right. We've got your request.
That's it.
Send it to Netflix. All right. Well, coming up, hundreds gathering at the Capitol to rally against abortion. What they're asking lawmakers in D.C. for.
Organizers expect thousands from around the country to travel to Washington tomorrow and gather on the National Mall to rally against abortion rights. Now, the group will march to the U.S. Supreme Court and the Capitol. Drew Petrimo tonight reports this will be the 46th annual March for Life.
In a hotel conference room not far from Capitol Hill, hundreds of pro-life activists met to talk strategy. They want to learn how to convince lawmakers to support their cause. The advice: hone your message, know bill specifics, don't be afraid to speak with the other side. Indiana Republican Congressman Jim Banks led part of the discussion.
What we talked about today is how to somewhat take the emotion out of it and be productive and developing relationships with your elected officials.
The activists are in town for the 46th annual March for Life rally set for Friday. Hundreds of thousands are expected to gather on the National Mall to support the pro-life cause.
March for Life is a great example of people coming together around this conviction that life is sacred and meaningful for our society.
They came from all across the country, like these college students from New Jersey.
It's not just our group from Seton Hall, but a part of a movement of hundreds of thousands of people.
And an activist from Southern California who's been in the pro-life movement for decades.
Well, we've been around a long time. We're in for the long haul.
Congressman Banks says the pro-life movement is at a crossroads. They see a friend in the White House and in the Republican-controlled Senate. But he says new Democratic control of the House will almost surely block anti-abortion bills from passing. In Washington, I'm Drew Petrimo.
All right, coming up, she is a national treasure. Today we say happy birthday to an original Golden Girl. How old Betty White's turning, coming up.
And MCC head baseball coach Mitch Thompson has a lot of work to do replacing a ton of talent off last year's team. Matt Roberts will tell us why that's a good thing. It's next in Fox 44 Sports.
From the Allen Samuels of Hearn Sports Center, it's Fox 44 Sports with Matt Roberts.
Hey there, and good evening to you. The Baylor softball team is trying to work their way back to the Women's College World Series with a lot of fresh faces saying goodbye to All-Americans Jessie Scroggins and Shelby Freidenberg. Now they will also be without Kyla Walker, who suffered a shoulder injury during rehab this fall. Walker will be redshirting this year and will play again next year, but those three combined to hit over 400 last year. Will be very strong in the circle, though, will Baylor, because of the returners like Gia Rodoni, who is confident in this young team and the players on this team that they can get back to Oklahoma City, even with the late loss of Walker.
Each of the 3 years she had the numbers, so she's an All-American in my book, so we lost 3 All-Americans from last year's team. Nobody has that, really. Can't back that up, but we're going to have adequate talent. We'll figure out what we're going to do there, and I've got some things running through my mind, so we've got to get to work and see who will work out best there, and it may take us a few weeks into the season.
Oh, for sure. We have a lot of new talent and more talent. I'm just excited to see how the new ones step into the roles that they're given.
Moore & Company opened the season 3 weeks from today in Puerto Vallarta. Coach Moore speaking to the crowd this afternoon at Waco's first pitch luncheon, as did former Bear Sean Tollison, who announced his retirement from professional baseball yesterday, pitching 5 seasons, 3 of them with his hometown Texas Rangers. But yesterday he felt like it was time to call it a career.
I'll forever be grateful for the Rangers and how they took care of me and my family.
Sean Tollison was ready to head to Surprise, Arizona this fall and compete for a spot on the Rangers' major league roster. But in a throwing session last week, his elbow had other ideas.
Experienced another setback, and I wasn't going to be ready to go into spring training and compete for a job, which is what I've been kind of busting my rump for the last year, trying to do.
An emotional decision for the DFW native, but one he feels at peace with, even less than 24 hours after making it.
I'm going to miss being out there on the mound. I'm going to miss being in the clubhouse with teammates. But I'm eager. I woke up this morning happy, eager to move on and just kind of see what else is out there.
A kid from Allen who spent 3 years with his hometown team, including a 2015 season where he was the Rangers Pitcher of the Year and finished 10th in the Cy Young voting.
That's your ball game. Tollison strikes out the side in the 9th inning.
Making a lifetime of memories just miles from where he grew up.
My best memories are with the Rangers, probably from that 2015 season and clinching playoffs, that memorable game in Toronto. That's a historical moment in baseball that I got to be a part of.
And as for what's next for the former Baylor Bear, he's got plenty of time and plenty of roads to take.
They're all completely different from each other. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but I am excited to kind of head down that path.
But he hopes to stay close to the game and the team that has given him so much.
To be able to play for the Texas Rangers organization was so special because not many players get to play for the team that they grew up rooting for.
One of Tollison's former coaches at Baylor, Mitch Thompson, has built a monster on Lakeshore Drive as his McLennan Highlanders are back on track to make a run at another World Series appearance. But to do so, they're going to have to replace some big-time names. Josh Bros set to head to Yankee spring training in a few weeks, while another handful of players are preparing to start practice at their four-year institutions here in the coming weeks. And while Coach Thompson has a lot of work to do to replace those guys, it's why they come to MCC in the first place.
We're fortunate with a couple guys here at Baylor, but we've got them from coast to coast across the country. 52 guys in the last 5 years moved on to Division I baseball. So, you know, this is a stepping stone, a springboard. Those guys are coming into McLennan and being able to use that and to really improve themselves and get to the place where they want to go and finish up their college. So it's always fun to watch those guys.
They will open their season a week from Friday. We'll be right back after the break.
Hollywood legend and America's Golden Girl Betty White turned 97 years old today with a career that spans more than 80 years. White, she has collected 8 Emmy Awards, 3 American Comedy Awards, 3 Screen Actors Guild Awards, and a Grammy Award. She's also starred in hit sitcoms including The Mary Tyler Moore Show and Golden Girls. She's also appeared in a number of blockbuster movies like The Proposal and Lake Placid. Well, last year, the actress told Parade magazine her secret to longevity was to enjoy life, and anyone who's watched her knows she lives that to this day. She's also told one news outlet that she is spending this birthday at home with a professional piano player, a buffet with her family and friends while they sit around and sing show tunes.
I like the buffet idea.
Yeah, I would pay to see Betty White sing show tunes.
Yes.
I feel like she would have a blast with it. She is just hysterical.
I still feel like that's probably a pretty rockin' party.
Oh, absolutely.
That's one you want to be at.
Big happy birthday to her.
All right, we've got one more day to enjoy this week.
Yeah, tomorrow we should be in the low 70s. A little cloud cover here and there. A chance of an isolated shower very late tomorrow, but our best chance will be in the evening, about a 40% chance. Once that front moves through, it's going to be a windy, it's going to be a much colder weekend. 48 degrees on Saturday, 51 on Sunday with some nighttime lows in the 20s and 30s. And the general trend next week keeps those temperatures in the 50s for highs and those lows in the 30s and 40s.
All right, not bad. And before we go, we do want to invite you to visit our website, centexprod.com. It's where you'll find all the stories you heard about tonight. And of course, keep up on when that cold front is coming in.
That's right. That'll wrap it up. Happy birthday, James Earl Jones.
Good night.